Fawzia Koofi is one of Afghanistan's most outspoken democracy activists. She has lived through all the situations women face in patriarchal, war-torn countries. In spite of her experiences in and out of politics, she remains strong, spirited, tenacious, and committed to fighting for a future free of discrimination and full of hope in the country she loves. Her candid memoir is called Letters to My Daughters. It is my pleasure to welcome Fawzia Koofi to Studio 4 to tell us more.
Thank you.
And welcome to Canada.
Thank you so much.
Going back to when you were born, you almost didn't make it because in your culture, some say it's just another girl, another poor girl. What happened to you at birth?
Well, the day I was born, I think that was the first day that my struggle started. I had to make a struggle to survive. My mother didn't want yet another girl because she didn't want another girl to suffer as much as she suffered in her life as a woman. She has been through violence, discrimination, hardships. She didn't want another girl to enter this world full of challenges as she experienced. And I was her last baby, her last child. So she put me, and she was very weak when I was born. She was almost out of conscious as I was born, and there was no doctor, of course. So the village woman was responsible for her. I mean, was taking care of her, and they just put me outside because it was the little tiny red mouse girl who is another girl, and they put me outside, almost forgot about me.
In the sun? In
the sun, in a countryside. This is where we go on summertime to take, we take also the cattle and everything we had to the mountain so that there is enough grass for them during summertime. So my mother was like responsible for that. But I was, I lived, I survived that first attack on my survival, and but later on my mother gave me enough love to compensate her first day of ignorance. But I think she had, like she always was thinking that, and shared this with me, saying that it's a difficult time, and I could see her life, how difficult it was, like being married to a man who already had a wife, and he married another 5 wives with her.
7 wives
altogether. But 4 of them lived in, at one time, because that's how Islam allow a man to marry only 4 wives at a time.
Okay, and your father, prominent politician, prominent political family, loved your mother. Perhaps your mother was his favorite wife, but he also beat your mother.
Well, yes. You know what? It's interesting because back by then, if there was more beating by a man, like it was a sense of care and attention and love.
Something your mother accepted at some level.
She was happy to see that she's actually being paid attention by my father, and she is still in the focus of my father. But of course, there was sometimes that she really, was beaten to the extent that she had small injuries in her hand or, in her head. And that was the time I think anybody will just go, like, it's too much now. But she was always proud of being the most, focused and loved wife of my father. And she was very strong, responsible for the whole family. When my father was alive and he was busy in the federal politics, like in Kabul, he was a member of parliament, he will hardly come to our province. He will just come maybe once a year during the recess, parliamentary recess. And so she was responsible for everything.
Yes.
Even she was responsible to how to behave with other wives of my father. And she was very nice to them as well, like a sister, which was unbelievable. I mean, I wouldn't do that now.
No. What was your relationship like with your father?
I was 3.5 years old when my father was killed. And because my father didn't live in our constituents or in our area a lot. He was in Kabul and always busy,
Right.
and he was very outspoken and hardworking, and so he always had to pay a high price for that, because I guess you all agree, I mean, you will agree with me that when you are outspoken and you talk your nation's voice, then you get more risks and challenges. So my father got a lot of risks and challenges for his outspokenness. But then he hardly could see actually his children. And me, he could talk to me face to face once in the 3.5 years old of my childhood. But I still believe that he was a strong man.
And he had a great reputation,
Yes.
Revered in Afghanistan, although, as you say, you can be killed for your beliefs.
Yes.
And you are willing to be. You have said. It's astounding to somebody who lives in North America, really, because, well, first of all, we don't live with that threat, as females or as males.
Yes.
Your daughters, one of your daughters, I'm not sure which one, said to you, Mother, I don't want you to be president of Afghanistan. I want you to be alive.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, you said rightly that to stand on a country which is full of tradition, but to stand on your own values, I guess it's not easy. You have to break so much taboos at certain point. You have to just deal with challenges. And one of the main challenge for me is politics is like, in Afghanistan, it's not well accepted to not by people, by politicians, to have a woman politician, because it's their defeater. It's somebody that will challenge them, compete with them, and this is exactly what I did. I managed to stand against those traditional politicians who have been holding the country's power forever. So one thread is their presence for me. The second one is because I have been outspoken for the civil rights, justice, and women's rights, and certainly Taliban don't like these things. So I'm more at risk from that perspective as well, and they managed to attack so many times on me, but those were luckily so far failed attacks. My daughter, of course, at the end of the day, they are little girls, and they want their mother to spend more time with them rather than, being involved in politics. But I think now it's kind of part of our life, both for me and my daughters, to live with those challenges, but find our way through, way through those challenges. Like, I shouldn't wait for a time that Afghanistan is absolutely a secure, safe country. Rule of law is there. There is no discrimination against women or traditional politicians. Don't try to create a problem for women. And then I start doing my work. I shouldn't wait for that.
Right.
I have to be part of the changes to get there.
What changed for you when the Taliban, known as the Angels of Rescue, came to power, really, in Afghanistan? What changed for you, for all women? For the men, too, but specifically for the women?
I think a lot. I mean, it was like a reverse life for all of us, in particular for women and children. When Taliban first came, I was a medical student. I wanted to become a medical doctor to bring my mother's dream true. But they stopped me from going to university. And not only me, but hundreds of Afghan women, talented girls, who could have been, driving force for their country's economy, culture, social life. Now, they stopped them from going to school. And women in Afghanistan consist 55% of the society. They stopped 55% of the society from progress. Not only that, but also men, because they were imposing everything that they want on men, on young boys as well. For instance, they had to put a certain measure of birth. If they didn't have that, they will just, the Vice and Virtue Department will just beat them. Put them in prison, in the detention. For women, you had to, even if you go to see a doctor, or if you go to see, for shopping, or whatever reason you go out with burqa, you had to have socks. Your feet also had to be covered. If not, the Vice and Virtue will cut you and then start beating you. So those were the challenges that affected my life. Was like almost reversed. Like I almost lost my memory of the period that I was young, I was in school, I had female teachers in the period that I was going to medical university, thinking that I'm the only woman in this world going to the medical university, because it was I was proud.
Yes.
Because it was very difficult to get to medical class.
Well, it's very difficult to get to high school, as you know, as a female in Afghanistan. You're the first woman educated in your family.
Yes.
Your mother was wise and gentle and powerful and illiterate.
She was. I mean, by writing this book, actually, one of the important messages I wanted to deliver to my daughters, to other women and girls in Afghanistan, but to you, I mean, to the world readers, and in particular women, was that Afghan women could be illiterate. They could be, you know, victim of and survivors of violence, but they are strong and agents of change. You know, the life my mother has been through. Imagine if I, you know, half of that is shared in the book. I don't share all the details because perhaps it will take books to share all the details.
Yes, it take volumes.
Exactly. But I just shared a bit of my life and my mother's life. With all that, you know, suffers and troubles, she never gave up, and she had this talent, happiness to manage the family, to have a vision, create a vision for the family, to be responsible for sending the children to school, you know, managing even not her own children, but my father's children from other wives. She was like taking care of all of them, and she was always happy. Like I'm surprised that how she could, you know, keep that balance to always give love and happiness to me and my other family member.
How did she treat you differently than she treated your brothers, or did she?
Yes, she did. In fact, she will say to everyone in our family that if this is a scale that you weight things, she is in one side of the scale in terms of having more love to her, and all of you are in the other side of the scale, like what she was referring to me. And I think because of the fact that she really gave me more love and more freedom. None of my other sisters will like talk to her very bluntly or talk to her very openly. I did sometimes, and she will, in this quiet places in our room, she will tell me, you don't need to talk to me like that in front of your sisters, because then they will also get used to this.
Yes.
I allow you to have some kind of freedom, but then you also need to respect the family command.
You said in this book many times, there is hope for Afghanistan in spite of all the pain you've gone through, your mother went through, the grief, the assassination of your father, your brother was killed.
My 4 brothers were killed.
All 4? All 4. And when was the first time you actually experienced death?
Oh, this was, well, as I was born.
Yes, true.
But it didn't happen.
Near death.
Near death, exactly. Yes. But the tough one was last year, actually. The one that actually I could see death in front of my eyes was last year. Then when I was coming from a province, it's an eastern province in Afghanistan, bordered with Pakistan. It's called Jalalabad. I was coming from that province after celebration of 8 March, International Women's Day. Yes. My daughters were also with me, as was my sister, because, you know, we were like going to celebrate 8 March with the family, with the women of the family, with other women. On the way, you know, Taliban attacked the convoy of my cars. I had 3 police cars with me as well for security, and my own cars, like my own and my bodyguard's car. So they attacked with Kalashnikov, with rockets, and like bullets was everywhere in the car. I mean, you could just see that it's coming. And this was the time that I felt that I'm not going to escape this time. But luckily I was, and I think that's a sign of that all the prayers of my people that are poor, you know, unable, but I do help them at certain point. I'm connected to them, and they sometimes give me the big prayer that, like, you know, we pray for your safety. And that was the time I think this actually was kind of it worked, kind of an unknown hand that saved me.
Right, that faith, and your faith inspires you, I know, and offers you hope in spite of all the tragedy you've endured, and living with the Mujahideen and with the Taliban, and losing the men in your family. It's an incredible story of resilience. We'll come back and talk more with Fawzia Koofi, Letters to My Daughters.